You wake in a gilt-edged bed draped with silk. Courtiers whisper your name, messengers bow at your feet. A life of power, riches, and glory, at every breath you take, binds you tighter to a throne of thorns. Dawn light spills softly over frescoed walls. Heavy banners billow in the stale air of a musty hall. Close-up shots reveal a jeweled crown resting too heavily on a velvet cushion. Iron-rimmed boots shackled firmly to a cold marble dais. A page stumbles, spilling a goblet of wine near sharpened spears lining the chamber, a subtle omen of danger lurking beneath the grandeur. The metallic clink of gold coins echoes like prison bars, reverberating through the vast hall. An acrid tang of incense struggles to mask the underlying stench of fear and betrayal. A distant trumpeter's call pierces the air, trembling with a warning rather than celebration. Tonight we reveal why the weight of the crown was a burden no glory could outweigh. Flickering torchlight dances along the vaulted stone walls of a grand audience chamber. Behind jeweled wooden screens, murmurs ripple as councillors exchange hushed warnings. King Edric sits rigid, shoulders hunched beneath his ornate robes. Eyes sharp and narrowed as a messenger approaches with a sealed letter, bearing ominous bear claw marks instead of the familiar royal sigil. Across the room, Lady Ingrid, the Queen, peers out a grated window, lips pressed tight, scanning the courtyard below with a gaze heavy with unease. Edric breaks the heavy wax seal with trembling fingers, unfurling the parchment to reveal a deadly assassination threat from a rival potentate. Suddenly, a nearby courtier gasps and collapses, clutching his chest. Poisoned ink has silently betrayed the throne. Ingrid slams the window shut and commands with steely authority, "Double the patrols, no one enters unsearched." The room tightens, tension crackling like the torch's flames. Edric grips the gilded arms of his throne, voice barely above a whisper but laced with iron. "Trust no one within these walls." As darkness swallows the chamber, his final chilling decree cuts through the silence. Kill the messenger. The seed of paranoia is planted, setting in motion a deadly game of intrigue and betrayal where loyalty is fragile and shadows conceal deadly intent. Today's CEOs dodge hostile takeovers, high-stakes lawsuits, and boardroom coups behind bulletproof windows and stock options. Medieval kings faced true life and death plots, poison-tipped goblets, blood-soaked daggers, and betrayal by blood. A sleek, modern office skyscraper rises into the sky, its tinted glass reflecting the bustling city below. Inside, security checkpoints hum with activity. Badges scanned, cameras tracking every move, discreet guards watching over glass-enclosed executives. Behind these layers of corporate protocol, CEOs navigate complex threats, hostile takeovers, damaging lawsuits, and the ever-shifting allegiances of board members. Public relations teams craft narratives, hedge funds maneuver silently, and power plays unfold through spreadsheets and contracts. This battlefield is fought with strategy and influence rather than swords. But its stakes are just as lethal in consequence. Reputations ruined, companies destroyed, futures lost. The quiet tension of whispered deals and keyboard clicks replaces the clang of steel, while the weight of relentless stress hides behind polished smiles. Shift to a timber-framed medieval great hall. Massive wooden beams stretch overhead, banners fluttering in drafty shadows. Mace-bearing guards stand like stone sentinels by pillars, their eyes scanning the dim corners. Above, murder holes gape wide, ready to unleash boiling oil or a deadly volley of arrows on unwelcome guests. Power here is raw, brutal, and immediate. Poisoned goblets glisten at feasts where secret daggers lie beneath tables. Whispered conspiracies slither through velvet curtains, while rumor weavers and court jesters act as human shields. Absorbing intrigues and diverting suspicion, trust is a scarce commodity. Every handshake could hide a blade. The air hums with danger beneath opulence. While modern executives wrestle with pressure and image, medieval kings lived constantly with the spectre of violent betrayal. The fear of poison in wine, daggers hidden in shadows, and kin plotting overthrow cast long, dark shadows over their reigns. Their daily lives were shaped by paranoia as much as power vigilance was survival. Unlike today's boardroom chess, their battles were fought in blood. This brutal reality redefines the throne, not as a seat of glory, but a crucible of unending fear. Being king meant navigating a perilous web of blood-sworn alliances and deadly betrayals. Every handshake was a gamble. Every grand feast could mask a poison ring. Spies lurked in the shadows, rumors ignited like wildfire, and assassins often wore the faces of trusted confidants. Power was never simply taken, it was fiercely defended through ritual oaths and merciless punishments. The king's paranoia became essential armor, a shield forged in suspicion and vigilance. The crown was a prize soaked in treachery, where trust was a currency scarce and fleeting. Soft whispers of conspiracy rustled through stone halls, the faint clink of poisoned chalices punctuating the tense atmosphere. Flickering candlelight cast long shadows over guarded faces, revealing eyes sharpened by fear and calculation. In this fragile reign, every moment balanced precariously between loyalty and violence, where survival demanded constant watchfulness beneath a glittering but treacherous crown. The king's authority was bound by brutal rituals, crown purifications bathed in the blood of goats, omens read from sacrificial fires, and trials by ordeal that tested loyalty and innocence alike. These ceremonies served dual purposes, proclaiming divine favor and instilling terror in dissenters. The king's very body and soul symbolized the realm's strength, demanding that the crown be guarded with rites both sacred and ruthless. The air thickened with the coppery scent of blood, mingled with incense smoke as priests chanted around crimson-stained altars. Rhythmic drumbeats marked the passage of solemn moments, underscoring the gravity of each trial. The king's solemn expression revealed the heavy burden of this power, steeped in pain, fear, and a relentless sense of duty to uphold order through sacrifice and fear. Royal life was marked by profound physical and emotional isolation. Fortress chambers and secret tunnels concealed the king from lurking threats, while dungeons beneath the great hall whispered grim tales of enemies and heirs lost to shadowy plots. Public executions and flayings stained the court with grief and dread. Behind gilded walls lay a crushing loneliness born from endless vigilance, where every smile masked a hidden blade and every ally harbored potential treachery. Echoes of footsteps resonated through empty stone corridors, the cold bite of granite pressing against the skin. A solitary king stared through narrow windows, the weight of absolute power bearing down on even the strongest spirits. The crown's cost was immeasurable, a heavy solitude that crushed hope beneath the glittering facade of sovereignty. Matandabailey keeps, exemplified by the famed Windsor Castle, were marvels of medieval engineering and defense. Massive earthen ramparts surrounded timber halls, forming layers of protection that forced enemies into narrow, deadly kill zones. Within these fortifications, concealed stairways and hidden chambers offered monarchs secret passages for escape or clandestine movement. Over entryways, murder holes awaited attackers, enabling defenders to pour boiling oil or drop stones onto those trapped below. These keeps were more than royal residences. They were fortresses constructed to withstand sieges, political treachery, and assassination attempts. Every stone and timber was purposefully placed to safeguard the sovereign, combining architecture with lethal strategy. The thunder of boots across drawbridges and the hiss of scalding oil defined the brutal reality of ruling in a world where power was preserved by cunning design and deadly geometry. Murder holes were narrow openings positioned above gatehouses and corridors, serving as critical points of defense. From these apertures, defenders unleashed scalding liquids, heavy stones, or volleys of arrows onto invading forces forced into choke points below. Medieval military manuals describe these features as essential to fortress defense, and archaeological findings confirm their widespread use through reinforced structures. As a last line of defense before attackers breached the Great Hall, murder holes exemplified the brutal efficiency required to survive in hostile courts. For rulers, these lethal overseers symbolized vigilance and control, reminding all that within these walls trust was scarce, and violence could strike from above without warning. The sizzling sound of boiling oil meeting flesh and the dull impact of falling stones echoed the deadly nature of medieval power struggles, where every inch of the castle was weaponized against foes. Analysis of artifacts recovered from royal courts revealed traces of deadly poisons, such as ergot and wolfsbane, in ceramic goblets and even latrine sediments. These toxins were administered in precise doses, designed to mimic natural diseases, enabling assassins to strike with lethal subtlety, while avoiding immediate detection. Court physicians often doubled as poisoners, merging extensive herbal knowledge with calculated malice. The infamous poison ringer, concealed vessel worn to store toxins, became an emblem of clandestine danger, allowing nobles to weaponize intimacy and proximity. Poison thus served as an invisible extension of power, turning trusted allies into unwitting agents of death. The faint metallic tampes of poison lingering on the tongue and whispered cautions in shadowed chambers encapsulate the silent warfare waged within royal courts. This shadowy art was as critical to medieval politics as swords or siege engines, underscoring that in the Game of Thrones, death often came not with clashing steel but with a concealed toxin. Espionage was integral to medieval court life. Secret correspondence was written in invisible ink's lemon juice or urine that only revealed hidden messages when heated. Ciphered missives were carved discreetly into candle soot or embedded within rune inscriptions, ensuring clandestine communication among spies. Shadowy figures moved silently, betraying confidences and alliances alike. Intelligence gathering became as vital as swordsmanship, and betrayal a currency traded in whispered secrets. The crackle of burning paper unveiling hidden texts and hushed voices, exchanging cryptic phrases, epitomized a realm where information was power. These networks shaped political fortunes and altered the balance of kingdoms, with every message a potential catalyst for intrigue or downfall. In courts ruled by suspicion and paranoia, the fate of monarchs often hinged on secrets exchanged under cover of darkness, proving that the pen, or in this case the cipher, could be deadlier than the sword. Archaeologists have uncovered multiple skeletons interred alongside kings and queens, interpreted as royal blood companions, warriors, or attendants sacrificed to guard their sovereign in the afterlife. These votive burials, often arranged in ritualistic patterns near coronation sites, signify ancient beliefs in binding loyalty beyond death. Such sacrifices were not mere superstition but integral to royal funerary rites, reinforcing divine authority and physical protection for the monarch's spirit. The presence of multiple burials within a single grave accompanied by ceremonial artifacts and blood-stained relics, reveals a culture where loyalty was cemented in blood and death alike. These findings illuminate the profound intertwining of political power, spirituality, and mortality, underscoring that the crown's security extended far beyond the living realm. The quiet hush of disturbed earth and the faint echo of ritual chants evoke a time when rulers commanded devotion so absolute it transcended life itself, ensuring their protection and legacy in both this world and the next. Modern forensic toxicologists analyze ancient residues to trace poisons in human remains and artifacts, unraveling hidden assassination plots. Hair, bone, and soil samples reveal chemical signatures confirming the presence of deadly toxins, providing scientific validation for historical accounts of court intrigue. These techniques reconstruct the lethal artistry employed by medieval nobles, combining botanical expertise with meticulous planning to eliminate rivals covertly. Lab footage showcases residue extraction and 3D molecular modeling, shedding light on how poisons were crafted and administered. The sterile environment and scientist-focused intensity contrast with the brutal consequences of these toxic secrets. Through this fusion of science and history, long-forgotten plots are resurrected, offering new understanding of the silent, invisible battles waged behind palace walls where death was often a whispered secret rather than a shouted battle cry. Architectural historians decode the strategic purpose behind every stone and timber within medieval fortresses by examining construction patterns, weapon placements, and architectural anomalies. They uncover hidden rooms, secret doors, and defensive features designed to confuse and trap enemies. Their research reveals how nobles transformed their residences into deadly labyrinths, where each corridor and chamber served a tactical function. These fortresses acted not only as physical barriers but also as psychological weapons, instilling fear and asserting dominance. Drone footage overlays detailed architectural drawings, mapping defensive layouts and illustrating concealed passages. The echoing footsteps in vaulted halls and the rough texture of ancient stone evoke the formidable atmosphere crafted by medieval builders. Their work highlights that castles were as much fortresses of the mind as of the body, where paranoia was built into the very walls to protect and imprison alike. A 3D digital cutaway animates a medieval keep, revealing its complex defenses: throne room poised above, concealed vents weaving through walls, and secret tunnels snaking beneath. This layered architecture embodies a realm built on relentless vigilance, where survival demanded constant readiness. From poison rings hidden in ornate chambers to pit traps concealed beneath floors, every feature speaks to a sovereign's need for protection against unseen threats. The keep stands as a testament to human ingenuity, born of fear and the intricate dance of power and paranoia. Ambient castle sounds, distant footsteps, muffled voices, and the flicker of torchlight immerse viewers in this world where trust was scarce and danger ever present. Here, the fortress is not merely stone and mortar, but a labyrinth of cunning, designed to safeguard both ruler and realm with unyielding resolve. At the break of dawn, the stone keep stirs with life. Sentries polish their chainmail beneath banners dyed a vivid blood red, each scrape of metal resonating like a silent vow of loyalty and readiness. King Edric, weighed by duty and suspicion, dons an eagle feather plume, a symbol invoking divine protection over his fragile reign. The crisp morning air carries the distant cawing of crows, setting a somber tone. The heavy stones underfoot hold the echoes of countless footsteps, each a reminder of the vigilance required. Edric's sharp eyes scan the courtyard, aware that every gaze might conceal a dagger. The mingling scent of cold stone, metal, and dawn mist forms an intangible armor as the kingdom awakens to another day shadowed by hidden threats. King Edric kneels in solemn prayer, his fingers tracing protective runic charms carved into his wooden staff. Meanwhile, Queen Ingrid stands over a wooden table laden with wine goblets, her gaze razor-sharp as she oversees the inspection of each vessel. Chamberlain Einar, the trusted poison tester, moves methodically, sampling every 10th cup with practiced caution. His expression tightens with every sip, discarding any suspected of contamination. These morning rituals blur the line between spiritual safeguarding and deadly caution, reflecting the king's dual fears of dark magic and mortal treachery. The subtle scent of crushed herbs lingers in the air, mingling with the faint clink of goblets and the tense stillness of the hall. Trust here is a fragile balance, maintained by ancient rites and constant suspicion. In the great hall, courtiers kneel reverently as rune-inscribed petitions are presented to King Edric. Each parchment, edged with protective wards, may conceal curses or veiled threats beneath formal appeals. The king's eyes narrow as he carefully studies each document, aware that deception often lies hidden within the script. Freitas, the keen-eyed ranger, slips silently from the chamber, tasked with inspecting secret stairways and passages for signs of sabotage. The rhythmic flicker of torchlight casts shifting shadows, turning every corner into potential danger. The council is a battlefield of words and subtle threats, where power balances precariously on whispered conspiracies and rune-carved secrets. The scent of muted incense weaves through the chamber as the king weighs every choice, acutely aware that one misstep could mean death. Freitas moves with the grace of a shadow through narrow, dimly lit stairwells beneath the keep. Her sharp eyes detect the faintest irregularities, loosened mortar, faint traces of unfamiliar oils hinting at recent tampering. Each step is measured, each breath cautious as she listens for hidden footsteps or whispered plotting. The air smells damp and ancient, layered with dust and the subtle fragrance of burning herbs used in recent rituals. Her role is vital, yet solitary, guarding the unseen corridors where enemies may lurk. As she tests secret doorways and scans alcoves, Freitas embodies the silent vigilance that underpins the king's fragile security. The quiet clinking of her leather boots on stone is a steady rhythm against the haunting silence of subterranean shadows. The great hall bursts with lively sounds as the jester performs, juggling and weaving bawdy tales to entertain nobles. Yet Queen Ingrid's sharp gaze never wavers, sweeping the crowded room for any hint of danger. Glint of steel beneath cloaks, a suspicious movement in the shadows. Poison testers circulate discreetly, swirling wine in goblets and sampling morsels with practiced detachment. The feast is a fragile dance of celebration and suspicion, where laughter masks the undercurrent of lethal intent. The clatter of plates and distant lute melodies contrast starkly with the tight, silent tension held by the Queen's court. Every dish could be a weapon, every toast a trap. This midday revelry is as much a trial as a festivity, a gauntlet the king must navigate with sharp senses and careful trust. Accused nobles stand solemnly before the court, bare hands pressed to glowing iron in the trial by ordeal. The air is thick with anticipation and dread. A single tremor betrays guilt, while steadfast hands proclaim innocence. King Edric presides with a grim countenance, knowing that loyalty must be proven in fire as much as in word. The crackle of the burning iron and the hush of the assembly create a charged atmosphere, where justice is as much spectacle as truth. Prayers and whispered incantations rise as the accused endure searing pain, their fate hanging in balance. The trial reaffirms the precarious nature of trust in the court, a reminder that the line between ally and traitor is perilously thin, and that power demands relentless scrutiny. As dusk settles, guards muster beneath the stone arches and slip into shadowed tunnels beneath the keep. Torchlight flickers along ancient walls as armored sentries rotate shifts, their heavy mail clinking softly in the quiet. Queen Ingrid oversees the movements with unwavering focus, issuing silent signals to ensure no breach goes unnoticed. The scent of smouldering thyme and burnt herbs hangs thick in the air, warding away evil as much as enemies. Each corridor and passage is a gauntlet of watchfulness, where shadows may conceal foes or spies. The torchlight casts dancing silhouettes on stone, embodying the restless pulse of the fortress. Tonight, vigilance is the kingdom's heartbeat each sentry, a guardian of fragile order amid pervasive danger. King Edric retires to a specially designed rotating bedchamber, engineered to move him between watchposts beneath the keep. The mechanical creak of the wheeled chamber echoes softly as it glides through shadowed corridors, ensuring no moment of vulnerability. Meanwhile, Queen Ingrid and Chamberlain Einar patrol the labyrinthine halls, their footsteps muffled on flagstones. Secret alarm cords strung beneath floorboards respond to pressure, ready to alert the royal household at the faintest intrusion. The tension is palpable. Every creak and whisper could herald danger. This orchestrated paranoia transforms the king's rest into a ritual of protection, weaving technology, trust, and fear into a fragile shield. Even in sleep, the king remains a sentinel, embodying the unyielding vigilance required to survive the throne's deadly demands. Chamberlain Einar's vigilance is relentless. Throughout the day, he samples every morsel and sip intended for the king, his practiced palate discerning subtle changes in taste or scent. His grim expressions signal meals safe to consume. Any hesitation hints at hidden poison averted. This daily ritual is a silent jeweler battle between life and death conducted in the quiet of the royal kitchens. The bitter tang of herbs, the metallic aftertaste of toxins, and the faint scent of crushed leaves become familiar markers of danger. Einar's role underscores the fragile thread upon which the king's life hangs, a reminder that in this world of deception, survival is secured by constant, meticulous caution. Queen Ingrid's authority extends to every facet of court security. She commands searches of guests entering the keep, directs guard rotations, and orchestrates discreet surveillance. Her presence is a silent fortress, a barrier shielding King Edric from betrayal. Ingrid's piercing gaze sweeps crowds, noting the slightest irregularity, a tremor of hand, a flash of steel concealed beneath silks. Her whispered commands ripple through the court, ensuring that all who enter are weighed against the ever-present threat of treachery. Through rituals, suspicion, and strategy, she maintains a fragile balance, her strength a cornerstone in a kingdom held together by fear and loyalty alike. When night deepens, shadowed corridors echo with whispered plots and conspiratorial murmurs. Silent blades slide beneath cloaks, and eyes flicker with mistrust. The palace becomes a labyrinth of suspicion, where no sound is innocent and no shadow safe. Trust is a rare currency, often spent with great caution or saved only for the most loyal. Every footstep, every breath holds the possibility of betrayal, turning the halls into a stage for deadly games played in silence. The faint scrape of metal and muted footsteps heighten the tension, underscoring the fragile peace that masks a kingdom on edge. King Edric drifts into an uneasy sleep in his rotating chamber, the weight of his crown pressing down with relentless force. His reign is a ceaseless dance of power and paranoia, where survival depends on webs of secrecy, rituals, and constant watchfulness. The soft creak of the bed turning is a lullaby of vigilance, a reminder that the throne demands not just strength, but unending caution. In the quiet moments before dawn, Edric's gaze lingers on the shadows beyond the chamber, window ever watchful, ever wary. The crown's burden crushes even the mightiest, for in this gilded cage, trust is the rarest treasure, and vigilance the king's greatest weapon. King Edric drifts into an uneasy sleep in his rotating chamber, the weight of his crown pressing down with relentless force. His reign is a ceaseless dance of power and paranoia, where survival depends on webs of secrecy, rituals, and constant watchfulness. The soft creak of the bed turning is a lullaby of vigilance, a reminder that the throne demands not just strength, but unending caution. In the quiet moments before dawn, Edric's gaze lingers on the shadows beyond the chamber, window ever watchful, ever wary. The crown's burden crushes even the mightiest, for in this gilded cage, trust is the rarest treasure, and vigilance the king's greatest weapon. At the massive stone entrance of a Viking keep, an imposing, rune-carved slab dominates the threshold. Each deeply incised symbol pulses faintly in the torchlight, not mere decoration, but powerful wards against both seen and unseen enemies. These runes serve as psychological fortifications, bolstering defenders' courage while planting dread in the hearts of invaders. The grinding scrape of chisel against stone lingers in the air, mingling with faint, whispered incantations that seem to echo through the cold night. The rune ward is a silent sentinel, invisible barrier rooted in ancient belief, where mysticism blends seamlessly into the fortress's stone and mortar. This threshold embodies the Viking fusion of magic and architecture, a spiritual bastion standing guard before any blade is drawn. Loyalty among Viking nobles was sealed in blood. During solemn ceremonies, lords and warriors drank from a shared goblet, mixing their blood to forge unbreakable bonds. This sacred act transcended political alliance. It invoked cosmic judgment, binding the participants spiritually as well as socially. Betrayal did not merely risk death, but threatened eternal damnation or erasure from the community's memory. The metallic tang of mingled blood lingered in the air, underscored by the low, rhythmic chanting of witnesses who invoked divine law. These blood pacts formed a psychological armor far stronger than any physical shield, creating loyalty forged in fear of supernatural retribution. Such rites weaponized belief, transforming abstract fear into an unyielding bulwark of social order and governance. Every gateway and hall was framed by runic carvings, each warded with symbols meant to protect and curse. These stone inscriptions weren't simply ornamental. They were curses cast in rock, promising death, madness, or spiritual torment for anyone daring to cross uninvited. The presence of these wards bolstered the defenders' confidence while instilling paralyzing dread in would-be invaders. As moonlight shifted, flickering shadows cast by nearby fires danced across the carved runes, their shapes seeming to pulse with ominous life. A hand traced the cold, rough carvings, connecting tangible stone to intangible magic. The faint crackle of ritual fires and distant echoes of protective chants seemed to linger in the air, making each threshold a spiritual gauntlet. Crossing such a threshold meant gambling with fate itself, an invisible force field of belief that fortified the physical walls and weapons beyond. Before ascending the throne, kings underwent purification rites involving anointing with goat's blood, an ancient sacrament believed to cleanse body and soul. Priests dipped their hands into bowls of thick crimson liquid, tracing the sacred symbols on the monarch's forehead and chest. The coppery scent of blood mingled with dense smoke from burning herbs, filling the chamber with a palpable sense of sanctity and dread. This ritual transformed the crown from mere metal into a talisman of divine protection, believed to repel poison and curse alike. The king's body became both vessel and shield imbued with sacred invulnerability. The rhythmic drumbeats echoing through the hall punctuated the solemnity of the moment, reinforcing the weight of responsibility and the peril that accompanied sovereignty. This blood rite was both a public declaration and a private armor, binding the ruler to the gods and the harsh demands of rulership. To confound assassins and spies, kings and nobles employed masked, double-strusted look-alikes, cloaked and veiled, to mimic their movements and mannerisms. These decoys moved through court and battlefield, sowing confusion among enemies uncertain which figure was genuine. The rustle of fine fabrics and the subtle shuffle of footsteps masked the true identity of the sovereign, making every shadow suspect. Guards exchanged wary glances, coordinating movements to protect the real monarch. The presence of these doubles instilled a psychological fog, forcing would-be attackers to hesitate and second-guess their strikes. This constant uncertainty was weaponized, transforming paranoia into a defense. The art of deception extended beyond armor and weaponry into the very perception of presence, turning every public appearance into a guarded illusion designed to preserve life and power. Viking ritual fused belief with governance by weaponizing fear of divine wrath, of curses carved in stone, and of social exile. These layered fears became the foundation of political stability, compelling loyalty not merely through contracts but through internalized dread. Lords and subjects alike knew betrayal would invoke spiritual catastrophe, as well as worldly punishment. Oaths sworn over runic stones and under flickering fires were empty gestures but profound commitments, enforced by communal fear and expectation. The scrape of fingernails on stone and echoes of solemn chanting filled halls, transforming abstract superstition into tangible authority. This ritualized fear created invisible barriers stronger than walls or swords, ensuring obedience and order. By channeling dread into shared symbols and ceremonies, Viking leaders crafted psychological shields that safeguarded their reigns beyond the physical realm. Dr. Sigrid Thomson, political psychologist, explains, Vikings masterfully weaponized belief, forging psychological barriers that rendered betrayal a social and spiritual abyss. These rites were not mere superstition, but functioned akin to modern security protocols, encoding deterrence in fear and ritual. Her insights illuminate how the interplay of magic, politics, and psychology forged an unbreakable social fabric. Intercut with reenactments of oath ceremonies and rune carvings, she underscores how these intangible defenses were crucial in maintaining fragile alliances and deterring treachery. By turning fear into governance, Viking leaders fortified more than stone walls, they fortified minds. She concludes, highlighting the timeless wisdom embedded in these ancient practices. Dr. Sigrid Thomson, political psychologist, explains, Vikings masterfully weaponized belief, forging psychological barriers that rendered betrayal a social and spiritual abyss. These rites were not mere superstition, but functioned akin to modern security protocols, encoding deterrence in fear and ritual. Her insights illuminate how the interplay of magic, politics, and psychology forged an unbreakable social fabric. Intercut with reenactments of oath ceremonies and rune carvings, she underscores how these intangible defenses were crucial in maintaining fragile alliances and deterring treachery. By turning fear into governance, Viking leaders fortified more than stone walls, they fortified minds. She concludes, highlighting the timeless wisdom embedded in these ancient practices. In Viking courts, protection transcended stone and steel. It was woven into every oath sworn, rune carved, and blood spilled. Ritual served as an invisible fortress of the mind, where belief was as essential as sword and shield. The crown's security depended as much on sacred fear and magical rites as on walls and weapons. As torchlight flickered and chants faded into silence, the invisible shield of ritual enveloped the keep. This fortress was not built with mortar but with conviction, a psychological bastion forged in ancient wisdom, where survival hinged on faith as much as force. A cluttered wooden table, bathed in flickering candlelight, holds rows of glass vials, some filled with clear antidotes, others with dark, viscous tinctures dripping with menace. Mortar and pestle rest amid bundles of dried herbs, their crushed leaves releasing sharp, earthy aromas that mingle with the warm scent of burning tallow. This alchemist's bench is the hidden front line in the battle for survival. A place where toxic plants and immune-strengthening tonics are crafted with secret precision. The tools whisper of a chemical craft born centuries before modern laboratories, where knowledge of nature's poisons and cures was wielded as power. Here, ancient chemistry lives as a potent weapon, a silent shield concealed beneath the clang of swords and the hush of court intrigue. In the shadowy halls of the court, courtiers anointed their gloves and the hilts of their weapons with extracts from deadly plants like aconite and hemlock. These contact poisons were so potent that even the slightest scratch transferred lethal toxins to the unwitting attacker. A slash from a poisoned blade could turn an assassin's attempt into their own undoing. Handling such poisons demanded careful ritual and skill, for a misstep meant death for the wielder as well. The slick, oily texture of these ointments shimmered faintly in dim light, while a lingering bitter temps hung in the air, an invisible warning. This intimate form of defense weaponized touch itself, transforming every encounter into a potentially fatal gamble, where survival hinged on chemistry as much as combat prowess. Daily life included rituals of fortification, where nobles consumed tonics brewed from angelica, yarrow, elderberry, and other potent herbs. These immune-priming draughts acted much like early vaccines, building resilience against poisons and infections. The herbal brews steamed gently in wooden goblets, their earthy aroma blending bitter root notes with fragrant leaves. This ritualized ingestion was both physical and psychological, reinforcing the body's defenses while bolstering mental resolve. Drinking these potions before council or battle was an act of preparation, melding faith with biology. These ancient herbal medicines formed an invisible armor, a botanical shield woven into the fabric of Viking survival strategy, underscoring a sophisticated understanding of mind-body connection long before modern pharmacology. Near royal quarters, small vaulted fumigation chambers were filled with smoldering bundles of rosemary, juniper, and thyme. Courtiers entered these smoky sanctuaries to inhale cleansing vapors, believed to purge airborne poisons and malevolent spirits alike. The pungent pine scent cut through the damp stone air, enveloping sleepers in a protective haze. These early smoke cure rituals combined chemical detoxification with spiritual purification, blurring the line between medicine and magic. Breathing deeply in the hazy chambers, courtiers sought not just physical safety, but spiritual clarity, confident that the smoke formed an invisible shield against unseen threats lurking in the air. This ancient practice foreshadowed modern air purification and aromatherapy techniques, highlighting the Vikings' holistic approach to defense. Einar, the trusted chamberlain, bore the grave responsibility of tasting each dish and drink destined for the king. With practiced care, he took small sips, holding the broth or wine briefly on his tongue, before discreetly spitting it out if foul or suspicious. This forensic tasting was a silent duel between life and death, a ritual of vigilance where seconds could save a monarch's life. The bitter sting of poison was often masked beneath aromatic spices or wines, sweetness demanding acute senses and unflinching courage. Einar's grimace was the silent signal of danger. His absence from a meal, the quiet assurance that death had been averted. In this ritual, trust was a fragile thread, upheld by ritualized caution and the unwavering resolve of those sworn to protect. Professor Marcus Reed, forensic toxicologist, reveals that Viking courts anticipated chemical warfare centuries before modern laboratories existed. Their poisons were carefully calibrated for subtlety, delivering delayed but fatal effects that mimicked natural illnesses, allowing assassins to strike without suspicion. Through extensive analysis of archaeological residues and manuscripts, Reed explains how Viking poisoners blended botanical knowledge with lethal artistry. Their mastery of dose and delivery was so advanced it parallels modern pharmacology. This toxic expertise formed a hidden armory that safeguarded rulers and shaped political power. It was a deadly science wrapped in secrecy, where nature's gifts were weaponized with precision and cunning. Dr. Ingrid Falk, ethnobotanist, discusses how saga manuscripts preserve antidote recipes in poetic, coded verses, ensuring knowledge passed safely through generations while remaining concealed from enemies. These remedies combined empirical observation with ritual symbolism, blending magic and science to save lives. Ingredients like mugwort, henbane, and valerian were carefully measured and prepared in specific sequences to counteract known poisons. Falk highlights that antidotes were treasured as highly as swords, their preparation a sacred duty in the royal household. This guarded pharmacopoeia exemplifies the Vikings' sophisticated medical traditions and deep respect for the lethal potential of nature's bounty. Dr. Ingrid Falk, ethnobotanist, discusses how saga manuscripts preserve antidote recipes in poetic, coded verses, ensuring knowledge passed safely through generations while remaining concealed from enemies. These remedies combined empirical observation with ritual symbolism, blending magic and science to save lives. Ingredients like mugwort, henbane, and valerian were carefully measured and prepared in specific sequences to counteract known poisons. Falk highlights that antidotes were treasured as highly as swords, their preparation a sacred duty in the royal household. This guarded pharmacopoeia exemplifies the Vikings' sophisticated medical traditions and deep respect for the lethal potential of nature's bounty. An animated visualization traces the journey of toxin molecules penetrating the skin and binding to cellular receptors, while simultaneously showing herbal antidote compounds neutralizing poison through molecular interaction. The vibrant colors pulse with chemical energy, bridging ancient Viking herbal wisdom and modern biochemistry. This dynamic illustration reveals the timeless molecular battle between toxin and chora, microscopic war waged silently beneath the surface. The animation fades into a quiet scene of herbs drying on a windowsill, sunlight filtering gently through glass. The message is clear. Ancient pharmacopoeia lives on, its legacy woven invisibly into our modern understanding of medicine and survival. Inside a sleek, high-security VIP bunker, biometric locks pulse softly under cold LED lights. Walls, lined with steel, reinforce the sense of impenetrability, while NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical air filtration systems hum quietly, purifying every breath. Panic buttons glisten, ready for instant alert. Screens display live CCTV feeds from multiple angles, capturing every movement with digital precision. This modern fortress embodies layers of technology designed to deter and delay intruders. Yet centuries ago, Viking nobles faced parallel threats with different tools: false chambers hidden behind stone walls, rune-inscribed wards carved into thresholds, and potent herbal concoctions brewed to fortify body and mind. Despite the centuries and technologies separating them, the essence remains, guarding power through layered, evolving defenses born of necessity and fear. Today, panic rooms offer sanctuaries of last resort reinforced steel. Enclaves equipped with independent air supplies and communication links to summon aid. Viking nobles constructed their own architectural defenses: false chambers, secret passages, and labyrinthine corridors designed to confuse and trap enemies. These decoy spaces served as psychological and physical barriers, buying precious time in the face of attack. Both approaches share a common goal: to delay intruders, protect occupants, and turn the tide of confrontation. Whether forged from concrete and steel or stone and timber, secure architecture reflects an enduring human strategy: control the environment to control survival. The ingenuity of medieval false chambers reveals a pre-modern sophistication, where every hidden door and shadowed nook could mean life or death. Modern security suites employ sensitive chemical sensors that detect airborne toxins before humans even perceive danger, invisible shield against biochemical threats. In parallel, Vikings ingested immune-priming tonics brewed from angelica, yarrow, and elderberry, fortifying their bodies against poison and disease. These herbal concoctions acted as biological defenses, preparing the body to withstand slow-acting toxins. While technology now automates detection, ancient science relied on botanical wisdom and ritualized consumption. Both biodefense strategies form crucial layers of protection, bridging the gap between environment and organism. This invisible war against toxins underscores humanity's continuous battle with unseen dangers, blending nature's pharmacy with cutting-edge innovation. In modern organizations, photo IDs and biometric recognition verify identity. Yet security also embraces obfuscation, using tactics like misinformation or controlled access. Vikings employed masked doubles and bodyguards dressed identically to nobles, sowing confusion among would-be assassins. These human decoys complicated attempts to strike, forcing enemies to hesitate and doubt. The psychological advantage lay in uncertainty. Attackers could never be sure who was real and who was a shadow. Controlling perception was as vital as physical defense. Today's digital face recognition and access cards protect access, but also manage appearances, continuing an age-old interplay between revealing and concealing identity. Both eras show that in high-stakes environments, masking true selves is a critical survival tool. Modern legal frameworks protect whistleblowers and impose penalties to deter betrayal within organizations. Vikings wielded rune-carved curses etched into stone and wood as spiritual and social sanctions against oath-breakers and traitors. These curses invoked divine retribution, exile, madness, or death, acting as powerful psychological deterrents. While today's laws rely on codified statutes and courts, rune curses operated within a belief system that made the threat immediate and supernatural. Both systems reflect society's need to enforce loyalty and trust, blending tangible and intangible penalties. The intersection of law and ritual underscores how human communities have long intertwined. Justice with culture to maintain order and discourage treason. Dr. Emma Clark, a security specialist, explains that uncertainty is a key defensive tool. When potential attackers can predict what lies ahead, be it locked doors, alarms, or unexpected guards, they hesitate. This hesitation is a powerful deterrent. She highlights how layered defenses create complex environments that slow intrusions and protect assets. Sociologist Dr. Navin Patel adds, across time, whether through ritual magic or technological innovation, elites develop mechanisms that blur clarity and certainty. Ritual and technology serve a shared purpose: to protect by keeping adversaries off balance. Their insights reveal a timeless strategy where fear of the unknown becomes a guard itself, shaping behaviors and fortifying security beyond physical barriers. Dr. Patel further observes, rituals in the past and cybersecurity today share a fundamental goal: establishing trust within a group while excluding outsiders. Both rely on symbols, be they runes or encryption, keys and performative acts that reinforce belonging. This convergence highlights how human societies continuously adapt their protective measures, integrating new tools with cultural meaning. From ancient runic ceremonies to modern firewalls and authentication protocols, the essence remains. Protection depends on both technology and social contracts. The dialogue between old and new reveals the persistent nature of human instincts to safeguard power and identity through layered defenses, from rune wards etched in darkened halls to the omnipresent gaze of CCTV cameras. The art of self-protection endures through centuries. The strategies evolve, but the goal remains. Keep your enemies guessing, always one step behind, surviving in a world where trust is scarce and danger constant. This age-old dance of shadows and deception reflects an unbroken human narrative, timeless game where cunning, ritual, and technology intertwine to secure survival. As we peer into modern fortresses and ancient keeps alike, we recognize the shared legacy of defense, born from necessity, fear, and ingenuity. Dawn breaks slowly over a silent keep, its weathered stones kissed by morning dew. Hidden passages once vital for escape and defense now lie sealed. Rune-inscribed threshold stones, dusted with the quiet weight of history. These stones, silent sentinels of an age, steeped in fear and ingenuity, stand as reminders of a time when survival demanded more than steel and walls. It required weaving magic, masonry, and medicine into a seamless shield. Inside, Queen Ingrid moves silently through a secret gallery, her hand gently extinguishing the last flickering torch. The fortress is secure, but the vigilance never ends. Far away, a modern CEO closes encrypted communication channels and scans security feeds. The pulse of digital defenses echoing the age-old instinct to protect what matters most. Their worlds separated by centuries but united by the same primal imperative. Power exacts a price. For medieval kings, it was ceaseless watchfulness against betrayal, shadows cast by those closest to the throne. As the sun rises higher, the narration reflects. Power always demands sacrifice. In the shadows of stone keeps and behind digital firewalls, the greatest threats come from within, and only relentless vigilance can hold them at bay. The invitation follows. Next time you lock your door or update your firewall, remember true safety is born of ingenuity, perseverance, and a healthy measure of paranoia. The final shot lingers on a lone rune-inscribed stone embedded at the threshold, an enduring testament to security crafted by necessity. fear, and unyielding resolve.